Ding dong, who's that at the door? Why, it's your pal Peter with a hot and fresh delivery of great games. Ooh, I wonder what year I've got for you this time. 2016? Oh, lovely. Yes, we're back once again to tell you all about the most exciting video games from a certain 12-month period. And this time, we're turning our attention to 2016. Before we get into it though, let's take a moment to go over the rules, shall we? A game can qualify for the list if it was released in 2016 in at least one territory and received a minimum of 7 professional reviews. We take review scores from both Metacritic and Game Rankings, and where the two aggregators differ in opinion, we go with whichever score is the highest. We don't count ports, re-releases, or collections, although remasters and remakes are fine, because you'll find those in the list pertaining to their original release year. So, have you got all that? Then let's get to it. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best games of 2016. Number 10, Kentucky Route Zero Act 4, PC, 90%. If you watched our Best Games of 2014 video, you'll know that this isn't the first time Kentucky Route Zero has made an appearance on one of these lists. Unlike some other studios, like Telltale, who would release a full season over the course of a few months, developer Cardboard Computer and publisher Annapurna Interactive took their sweet time getting Kentucky Route Zero to players in its entirety. And as such, it's ended up eligible for 2 separate best-of lists. The game as a whole tells the story of Conway, a truck driver who's tasked with crossing the mysterious Kentucky Route Zero by his employer, an antiques company, in order to make a delivery. Act 4 largely takes place aboard a tugboat ferry as it travels across the Echo River, though seasickness is the least of most of the passengers' worries. As is the case with all of the previous chapters, Act 4's gameplay is of the point-and-click persuasion, though unlike traditional titles of that ilk, contains no puzzles or challenges and instead places its focus squarely on storytelling. Critics lauded Act 4, focusing the vast majority of their praise on its story, which kept players gripped and on the edge of their seats throughout. Number 9, NBA 2K17, Xbox One, 90%. No, I'm not doing the sports time thing, that's Ben's gig. You want sports time? Get Ben to do your bloomin' list. Released in September 2016 for PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PC, and mobile, yuck, NBA 2K17 gives players the opportunity to experience what it's like to be a professional basketball player, no matter their height. Works well for me. Like previous games in the series, NBA 2K17 aims for realism and allows players to take part in matches with current-day teams and historical ones, as well as allowing them to get in on the behind-the-scenes management action. As tends to be the case for annual sports releases, NBA 2K17 bore a number of similarities to its predecessors, but it was the improvements that were made to its gameplay that led critics to bestow it with high review scores. A number of reviewers were impressed with the My Career mode, which they felt made players truly feel like an NBA star, as well as the overall gameplay, the amount of content, tweaks made to the My GM mode, and the commentary, which some believed was the best of any sports game ever. In short, the title was a real home run. That's a basketball joke. Is that a basketball joke? Number 8, Owlboy, PC, 90.39%. No, we're not talking about the bizarre cryptid that lives in the trees behind James's flat. That's the boy owl. No, this is Owlboy, the indie platformer from Norwegian developer and publisher D-Pad Studio. The game is set in the land of the sky and puts players in control of Otis, the titular Owlboy, as he sets out on a quest to save his village from the band of pirates that has attacked it, uncovering the lost truth of the owls in the process. Not the birds owls, his people are called owls as well. Throughout the adventure, players must utilize Otis's power of flight and his ability to carry different objects to traverse the landscape, defeat enemies, and solve puzzles. Along the way, they'll also meet various allies who can join them on their journey, each bringing their own unique weapons to the table. Despite being in development for the better part of a decade, most critics agree that Owlboy was well worth the wait, and upon its release, it earned impressive scores, with reviews commenting on its beautiful artwork and engaging gameplay. Oh no, the boy owl's back! James, get the broom! Number 7. Dark Souls 3, Xbox One, 90.4%. As you can probably gather from its title, Dark Souls 3 is the third entry into From Software's super challenging RPG series, and sees the player stepping into the shoes of the Ashen One, an undead who must return Prince Lothric and the defiant Lords of Cinder to their thrones in Firelink Shrine in order to link the fire. Like its predecessors, Dark Souls 3 is, for want of a better phrase, well hard, and requires players to study the movesets of their enemies in order to get the upper hand, meaning it often takes multiple tries to actually best an opponent. How players do this, however, is up to them, as they can be equipped with all manner of weapons and even magic if they like. Although there was some criticism levelled at the game, which was mostly for its technical hiccups and Bandai Namco's handling of the Western release, Dark Souls 3 was pretty well received overall. The vast majority of praise was directed at the visual design, boss fights, and combat mechanics, which critics said reminded them of Bloodborne. All in all, Dark Souls 3 is a fitting conclusion to the Souls series, and is a must-play for anyone who enjoys, getting beaten up. Number 6. Stephen's Sausage Roll, PC, 91.25%. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this game in today's script, I thought our writer had accidentally mixed up the list entries with the office lunch order again. But it turns out that isn't the case, and Stephen's Sausage Roll is actually a neat little indie puzzler from designer Stephen Lavelle. Oh, Stephen. I assume this is the man who the sausage roll belongs to. The gameplay here is relatively straightforward. Players must feed sausages onto a grill and cook them successfully before returning them to the protagonist. Being a puzzle game, though, this isn't just as simple as chucking a few links on the barbecue, and players will have to think carefully in order to ensure that no one gets food poisoning. Additionally, players can find stone tablets throughout the game's overworld, which ultimately demystify the overarching narrative. Although its name is humorous, the critical response to Stephen's Sausage Roll was no laughing matter, with journalists falling over themselves to lavish praise upon the title, commending its original premise and the difficulty of the puzzles, which were considered challenging but not too obtuse. On a related note, is anyone suddenly in the mood for a Greggs? Number 5. Overwatch, PC, 91.26%. Before Blizzard was outed as one of the worst places in the world to work, the studio was renowned for making good video games like Overwatch. You may be wondering when we'll stop bringing up the whole Blizzard Activision bullying and harassment debacle, and the answer, dear viewer, is never. Anyway, Overwatch. Overwatch was an online multiplayer first-person shooter in which players got to choose from a huge roster of heroes before being plopped onto a map and doing their darndest to achieve whatever objective was before them, usually capturing or preventing capture of a point, or moving or stopping a payload. No matter your preferred role, Overwatch had a hero for you, so regardless of whether you like to play tank, support, DPS, melee, or ranged, you'd have found a hero you'd have got along with. Upon its release, Overwatch achieved universal critical acclaim and was lauded for its vast array of characters and maps, multiple gameplay modes, competent multiplayer, and excellent writing. You might have noticed, though, that everything we just said was in the past tense, and the reason for that is because, sadly, Overwatch's servers were shut down when the sequel was released in 2022. RIP, Overwatch, you were too good for this world anyway. Number 4. Out of the Park Baseball 17, PC, 92%. What? I'm still not doing it. Why don't you just marry Sports Time if you love it so much? Out of the Park Baseball 17 is not the first Out of the Park baseball title to have featured on one of these lists. And although the franchise has quite a niche audience, those who are interested in the number-driven side of baseball hold the series in high esteem. If you're looking to swing a bat, then Out of the Park Baseball 17 isn't going to be the title for you, as it focuses squarely on the management of a baseball team. It's up to players to perform drafts and trades, look after the club's finances, set lineups, negotiate contracts, and determine their team's in-game strategy in order to take them to the top of the league. Critics had plenty of love for Out of the Park Baseball 17, despite the fact that it wasn't all that different to the previous year's offering. That said, it had enough new additions to appeal to devoted fans, including up-to-date licenses and attribute ratings, and it clung tightly onto all of the things that made its predecessors so great. Put simply, if in 2016 you were in the market for a brilliant baseball management simulator, you could really do no better than Out of the Park Baseball 17. In short, the title was a real slam dunk. That's a baseball joke. Is that a baseball joke? Number 3. Forza Horizon 3, Xbox One, 92.14%. The Forza Horizon series is the less serious sibling of the Forza Motorsport franchise, and places emphasis on spectacle rather than simulation, giving players the opportunity to engage in a little bit of carnage alongside their helping of fast cars. Forza Horizon 3 is set in a fictionalized version of Australia and places the player in the shoes of the director of the Horizon Festival. In order to expand said festival, they must take part in races, complete challenges, and perform stunts and that, which will earn them fans. And once they have enough, they can set up new festival locations and unlock additional events. The game features multiple different modes, including Exhibition, in which players complete a single race, Championship, which consists of multiple races in various locales, and Rivals, where the player must compete against an AI racer to achieve the best time. There are also various multiplayer modes, including an online cooperative mode for up to 4 players, and a competitive mode for up to 12, so there's plenty of opportunity to get friends in on the fun. Forza Horizon 3 enjoyed critical acclaim, with reviewers calling out the graphics, variety of content, and the game's open world as particular highlights. The writer then says, "I did plan on closing this entry with a pun, but I thought I'd give you a break. Sorry, Forza habit." Can we do something about these writers, please? Number 2. Inside, Xbox One, 93%. Grab those sofa cushions, boys, girls, and others, because it's time for a light spooking. Inside, or Inside, if you want to get all caps about this, is the second game from independent Danish studio Play Dead, who were responsible for the excellent but eerie Limbo, released in 2010. Inside bears a number of similarities to its predecessor, tasking players with taking control of a small boy who must traverse a largely colourless world filled with all manner of malevolent foes. In addition to a mostly monochromatic colour palette, the game utilises sound in a sparse manner, which helps to add to the oppressive atmosphere. Also like its predecessor, Inside received tons of praise from critics, and even ended up with a slightly higher average review score than Limbo. Those who reviewed the title agreed it was an evolution on what Playdead had achieved with Limbo, commending its gameplay, ambiguous narrative, and spooky ambiance, with some even going as far as to call it one of the best puzzle platformers of all time. The game went on to win a whole bunch of awards, including 2 TGAs, 3 DICE Awards, and no less than 4 BAFTAs. Seriously impressive stuff. And number 1, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, PS4, 93%. Swooping in to take today's top spot, along with multiple things that don't belong to him, is none other than everyone's favourite cheeky treasure hunter that isn't played by Harrison Ford. Released in May 2016 as a PS4 exclusive, Uncharted 4 A Thief's End is the 4th main entry into the Uncharted franchise, and is set several years after the events of Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception, by which point your boy Nathan Drake has settled down to enjoy a quiet life in retirement. That is, of course, until his presumed dead brother Samuel shows up and convinces Nate to help him track down the treasure of pirate Henry Avery. At which point, it's right back to the good old days of kicking arse and taking artifacts. Gameplay is of the third-person action-adventure variety, so players can expect plenty of thrilling combat, exciting exploration, and spectacular set-pieces. Critics were blown away by Uncharted 4, calling it, quote, a breathtaking marvel of a game, quote, a remarkable achievement in blockbuster storytelling and graphical beauty, and even, quote, a true work of art. So congratulations to you, Uncharted 4 A Thief's End, for being the very best game of 2016. And before you ask, Nathan, no, the award isn't solid gold. In fact, it's worth absolutely nothing, so there's no point trying to fence it, alright?